Hi, I'm Travis Braw. I'm the principal at Robinson Junior High, and we're here together today to give you a few updates at Robinson Junior High. I'm here with District Safety Coordinator David Rosinski to talk to you about a couple things that we want you to be aware of. First, I want to let you guys know it was so good to meet so many of you guys at Meet the Teacher last night. It's good to see smiling faces, students coming in, learning their way around campus, starting to get ready for the start of the year. One initiative that Robinson ISD is rolling out is the house system all the way from K through 12. High school rolled it out last school year, and we're excited to bring it to Robinson Junior High. Our students will be sorted into houses on the second day of school, August 16th, throughout the morning. It's going to be a fun atmosphere, ultimately with the hope of uniting our campuses K through 12 under these 8 houses while still being part of one Rocket family. One significant change in law in the state of Texas is that any student in possession of or that has used a vape device on or near school property must be placed in DAEP, which is an alternative educational placement, for an extended amount of time. It doesn't matter if it's a tobacco vape, if they're just holding it for a friend. The law is very clear that it's a mandatory placement. Please talk to your students about this. I understand that nobody wants their child to be using it, and hopefully yours isn't, but they need to be aware that there are lasting consequences if they were to make that choice. The next thing we wanted to address is that there's been local policy change regarding cell phones. We know that cell phones can be such a great asset and tool, but also they can be a huge distraction. Based on talking to nearby districts, looking at research, the district has changed cell phone policy that any student has to have their cell phone placed in a shoe-like cubby in each classroom. They will be hung up away from the door and kept there for the duration of class. At the conclusion of class each period, the students will be able to get their phone from the holder and proceed to the next class. Students will still have access to use their phones while in the cafeteria. Talking with the nearby school district, their administration enacted a similar policy last school year. At the end, reflecting on it, speaking with them, the administrator told us that it was the best decision they'd ever made in administration. They saw a huge increase in student engagement, student achievement, and ultimately the way that students interacted was far healthier, and there was much more dialogue in the classroom. These are all things that we're hoping our students can implement as well. One question that we're asked about with this cell phone policy is, what if there's an emergency at home? What if I need to contact my student? You're welcome to call the front office where we can pull the student out of class, and if there's information or news that we need to share with them, share it with them in that setting. In the past, sometimes we've had parents contact students about things like a pet or even a loved one dying, and that causes a big disruption for the student because they're upset, and rightfully so. But receiving that via text message or a phone call in class ends up detracting from the educational environment, where if you called the front office, we can pull the student to a private area where they can process that and grieve appropriately without causing the disruption or sometimes even embarrassing themselves. Now, another big and significant question is, what if there's a school-wide emergency? What happens there? And that is the reason why I'm sitting here with Mr. Rosinski. He's going to provide more information about that for you guys now.
Yes, we have had some concerns from parents about their kids not having their cell phones in case there was an emergency. And we want to be really clear that the cell phones are still in that room with those students. They have access to them if they need them in the event of an emergency. But actually our procedures, prior to this policy, was that in an event of an emergency, cell phones would go in pockets and they would not be used at all, because we don't want cell phones being used in an emergency, because our systems and our notification systems and communication systems are tied in many ways to Wi-Fi and to the cell service. And if we have 700 to 800 students and staff getting on cell phones in the event of an emergency, we can't communicate with each other. So it's actually a hindrance for them to be on their phones texting their parents or texting their friends or making videos during an emergency. So that was already a policy that they couldn't use those during an emergency. We have staff and personnel within each classroom that is trained and knows exactly what to do and how to notify emergency responders. You know, if we've got hundreds of kids making 911 calls and they're all convoluted and they're tying up the system, that is a problem during an emergency. Know that the staff that is with your child is trained. They know exactly what to do, where to go, and how to communicate. When the emergency has been rectified and we've got into a situation where everyone is safe, we will allow your student to have their cell phone and to communicate with you. That's an important part of reunification that we use in the event of an emergency. So they will still have access to that once everything has been settled and is safe. You know, for you, in the event of an emergency, you need to make sure you stay near your devices so we can communicate directly with you. But in our processes here during an emergency, we have to be able to communicate. Police, first responders, they all need to be able to communicate with us, and if we tie up our system with all of those text messages and phone calls, it will hinder our efforts. And so actually, the best thing is for them not to have access. And again, they're in the room with them, and when we were to reunify or to evacuate, they would have those cell phones.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to speak to you guys directly. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I understand that there's lots of ways to get information, but the best one, if you have any questions, is just to call the school and talk to us. We're happy to give you the guidance, the help that you need. Thank you guys. We're looking forward to the start of the great school year.